YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Apple CEO Tim Cook just on a conference call was discussing the future of the iPhone. They do their quarterly earnings reports, and people are able to chime in and ask questions, even though, of course, the people who actually ask questions are, people who work for Bank of America and other corporations that really just run America. But I needed to do a video on this because Tim Cook was asked a question about artificial intelligence replacing the iPhone. And if you don't know, Tim Cook is the current CEO of Apple. His qualifications, of course, for being the CEO of Apple is, riding the Hershey Highway. If you don't know what the code is for that, we are on the website, so we could say, being a fag. I mean, pretty much, let's just be honest about it, right? Because, of course, all these guys get their jobs based off of qualifications like that. Tim Cook is the CEO because he's gay, and of course he will toe the company line, which is to convince people that this technology is needed, that this technology is the future, and of course to deceive people into taking the mark of the beast. So Tim Cook promises people out there that AI will not make the iPhone obsolete, which is very, very interesting. Let me read to you what the question and answer was before we get more into it. During Thursday's earnings call, Wasmi Muin, an analyst with Bank of America, asked Cook directly how Apple is preparing for a world where dependence on screen-based devices significantly diminishes thanks to advances in AI. Cook didn't seem to see an imminent threat to Apple's hero product. I guess they're calling the iPhone a hero. It couldn't be more the opposite, right? But it's hero product. Quote, which looks like a misprint, but it says, when you think about all the things an iPhone can do, from connecting people to bringing app and game experiences to life, to taking photos and videos, to helping users explore the world and conduct their financial lives and pay for things and so much more, it's difficult to see a world where iPhone's not living in it. And that doesn't mean that we're not thinking about other things as well. But I think that the devices are likely to be complementary devices, not substitution. Well, that's because Tim doesn't want on a conference call to explain what's really actually going on, what he's openly discussed on other platforms, in other interviews, and openly bragged about, which is, of course, how Apple is testing brain control tech similar to Elon Musk's Neuralink. How Apple is tapping into the company called Synchron to explore mind-controlled iPhone technology. See, the reason he pushed it off is because he's on a call with investors, and most of those people don't have the slightest clue about what's actually coming. They just get in the stock market thinking, hey, everybody buys Apple, so I should invest my money in Apple, not having a clue how none of these CEOs could care less about the price of their actual stock. It has nothing to do with anything. But Tim Cook didn't want to go on a conference call with investors and talk about, mind control iPhones being the future because it might blow their actual minds. But this is what the plan is, that Apple, again, I've covered this before, has tapped into Synchron to explore mind control iPhones. Because all of these phones, and again, if you haven't heard, recently Samsung has now partnered up with Elon Musk. So we have Samsung and Tesla partnered up. We have Apple partnered up with Synchron. How convenient, right? And then you think about the left-right divide of it all, because Elon Musk and Samsung. iPhone is partnered up with Synchron. And for those of you that don't remember, Synchron is a startup that is fully funded and backed by Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. And it's testing mind control computing on human beings. So Apple is going to support brain implant control of its devices. So when somebody hears, well, AI is going to replace the phone, nobody even knows what that means. You know what I mean? The question like that, what does that mean? How AI is going to replace the phone? So you're going to throw your phone out in the garbage can, then what? What's going to be in your home? What are you going to do? It doesn't make sense, right? When you think about it, how does that make sense? As of right now, most of these sheeple believe that AI is just the new Google search. You go on your, Google, you go on your phone, you type something in and it gives you an AI answer, right? So they're saying to themselves, what are you talking about? AI actually replacing a phone? It makes zero sense. But then when you think about what the real plan is with the Neuralink and how they're going to transition using the Apple Vision Pro, because again, remember the Apple Vision Pro Model 2, which is coming out next year, supposedly is going to have the ability to be controlled by brain activity. But currently the Apple Vision Pro is gaining the ability to be controlled by brain activity thanks to a partnership with Synchron, a neurotechnology company. Synchron has developed a brain-computer interface that allows users to interact with the Vision Pro using their thoughts, effectively bypassing the need for hand gestures or voice commands. This technology allows users to select items, navigate menus, and even play games like solitaire, all through thought control. A 64-year-old man with ALS has already used this tech to control the Vision Pro, demonstrating its potential for individuals with paralysis, right? Remember, as I've said a million times, using all these people with things like paralysis, with things like dementia, with things like Parkinson's, people who, can't walk, can't see, using them to roll out this technology. And then, of course, telling you how it could be beneficial to you and easier for you, because then you'll start hearing about psyops with how the phone is becoming a problem, right? Texting and driving, people paying too much attention to their phone, looking down all the time. They'll come out with propaganda about, how it's affecting people's eyes, even though there's truth to that. Right? And then people slowly start saying, well, what's a better solution for us? If this is becoming a problem with our phone in our hand, well, we have the solution, right? Apple Vision Pro. Then they say, well, I don't want to walk around with goggles on, so what's the next best thing? Well, brain-computer interface, something that goes directly into your skull. And it looks a lot like, we start with this as far as, I'll show you here just a clip so you have an idea, because when I talk about the interface, people don't seem to understand. It's literally your phone coming out of your eyes. In other words, it looks like this.
What if you could control your Apple Vision Pro using just your thoughts? In 2025, Apple and a neurotech company called Synchron have made it real. For the first time, a human used Vision Pro with only their brain signals. No hand gestures, no controllers, just brainwaves, detected through a tiny device implanted in a blood vessel near the brain. This new system lets people with paralysis move a cursor, open apps, and even type, all with their mind. And it's not science fiction. It's already been tested successfully. And it's completely wireless and non-invasive. Apple calls it a step toward the future of human-computer interaction. Others say it's the beginning of thought-powered tech.
Right, so you're able to use your mind, as you saw the guy at the end there doing, moving his hands around to control the things he's seeing on his screen. Remember, we have the virtual realm now. We have the spiritual realm, and which is really being called the digital realm, and we have the physical realm that we're in right now, right? So us here physically, that is what you're seeing. They call it the digital realm. It's really the spiritual realm, which most people don't seem to understand because their eyes are completely blurred. They're looking at things that are non-existent in the actual physical realm. So when you put something like this in your head, for example, right? And you're seeing things that aren't actually there. There was obviously indoctrination with things like Pokemon Go. I talked about it when that came out. How people were holding up their phone and they were seeing the physical space around them. But when they were looking at their phone, they could see these Pokemon emojis walking around. Well, think about this. As you saw that guy at his desk moving his hands around, right? He's in a different realm. He's in a different reality. And when this technology is inside of you, you're literally seeing things that don't actually exist. They're blurring the lines between what's real and what's not. So Apple is playing this off because, of investors, and obviously they don't want to frighten people out there who are obsessed with their phone, because 99.9%, okay, let's just be real, 100% of their population is obsessed with their technology, obsessed with their phone. Their phone is almost a part of their body, which has been done by design, because the transition is going to be to put it in your body, right? So it only makes perfect sense. But if the phone is a part of their body, think about how obsessed and addicted they are. They have to use a lot of mind control techniques to get them on board with this next wave into brain-computer interfaces, with being able to control things with their minds, with their thoughts. But there aren't things that are going to be in the actual physical realm. They're going to be things that are in the digital spiritual realm, right? So in other words, with this technology, you're not going to be able to lift up a Coke can that's across the room from you, like we're in Stranger Things. But you'll be able to interact with your devices, right? You'll be able to interact with an iPhone that might be sitting at a table across the room, and you're using your Vision Pro, which eventually will be your brain-computer interface, your Neuralink or your Synchron in your body. You'll be able to, write something on the screen over there. You won't be able to pick the phone up with your mind and move it around, but you'll be able to write things on the screen. You'll be able to write things on your computer screen without being near your computer, your physical computer, right? So that's what we're headed towards, the two different realms. And then, of course, the mixing of iron and clay. So Apple is developing their own brain-computer interface, which is, of course, the same thing as Elon Musk. I've talked about how Musk has, now he's partnering with Samsung, right? So that's more of the conservative way that they're going to go. And the other side of it with, you have Apple partnering with who? With Bezos and Gates, even though nobody on earth likes Jeff Bezos. I don't even think liberals like Jeff Bezos. They do seem to like and trust Bill Gates. Don't ask me how. And then they'll figure out how they can market this to people. But there'll be a lot of propaganda about how dangerous the phone is, how it's becoming a hazard. They might even, I've said this before, they might even release information saying that the cell phone does cause cancer. It does cause radiation exposure. And that we need, that Apple and all these big tech companies they've got the fix for it. It's something else. It's safer. It's better. And they'll believe whatever they're told. At first you say to yourself, well, if somebody was going to tell you that the cell phone causes cancer, then people would just say, well, we don't want anything to do with it. Why would we trust it in our body? But they'll go along with whatever they're told. They trust in their tech corporations. They are obviously in love with their technology. So they will not take the chance of not having it in their lives. But I thought that was interesting. I had to do a quick video on it. How Tim Cook was asked about AI replacing the phone. And he's like, it's not gonna, I promise you. Everyone out there is going, oh, thank goodness, I don't want to get rid of my phone. Meanwhile, in the background, Apple's testing brain control technology, just like Elon Musk's Neuralink, using Synchron. And their next version of the Apple Vision Pro is going to give you the ability to control certain things using your mind, which means controlling devices that you can actually access through Wi-Fi. So you'll probably be able to even turn on your Alexa and all this other nonsense. And these people think it's the coolest thing ever because they've been obviously mind controlled their entire lives, at least the last 50 years, with these ridiculous, embarrassing superhero stories. Everyone's got a superpower. So they're going to love this stuff. That's one of the ways it will be marketed to them. So thanks again, Tim Cook, and thanks to all the Satanists in big tech for, ending humanity. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.